Three, two, one.
3, 2, 1. And we're live?
Yes.
Oh, good.
There you go.
Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday so far. Weather is beautiful here today. Sun is shining. There's not a cloud in the sky. It might actually get quite warm and toasty today, which would be really nice. I'm looking forward to having windows and doors wide open all day long. I get tired of having the house closed up through the winter. And when it gets nice and warm in the spring, I love having the house all open. So today we're going to be painting a new addition to the French floral series that we've been doing. And it's been a while since we've done one of these, so I thought it might be fun. And I was trying to think of a really unique flower for spring, and I thought of dogwood. Dogwood is a really unique tree. It's not one we see a lot here on the East Coast. We do have them, but they're not as common as they are in some parts of North America. But we have them up here. They tend to be low growing. They're not a big tree. They tend to be more of a shrub, and they have bright red bark. And interestingly enough, while I was researching this flower, because it's not something that's common, so I didn't know anything about it, I had to go looking around, and I discovered something really interesting. The white part that we think of as the blossom is not actually the flower. They're leaves, which was news to me. The floral part of the dogwood is the small center, and it's a cluster of little yellow flowers, which I always assumed was, the pollen portion of it, but that's actually the flower. And the white part are just the leaves that protect it. So I thought that was really, really cool. So we're going to have a little bit of fun painting dogwood, and we're going to be doing some fun things with the background. We're going to be using a grunge set of stamps and the vintage note stamp, and we're going to be using that mini brayer because I've been looking forward to this. We haven't done this type of background in a while. And before we get into that, let's talk about our giveaways. That's the word I was looking for.
That one?
Yeah, those ones.
That one.
Those ones are loaded. They're loaded. There's a beautiful 4-brush set, 3 of them to give away, of Dynasty Water Lily brushes. Beautiful 4-brush set. So there's that. There's some stamps. There's a stencil in there. And there's, as always, a bunch of other little goodies that we tuck in. So it's a nice little prize pack this week. We have 3 of those to give away. Yeah. The shout out for this week goes to dickblick.com. I love dickblick.com. The service is fantastic. The selection is freaking amazing. And I was in Detroit last weekend, and I didn't get the chance. I did go to Hobby Lobby. I had so much fun. I had a couple of like-minded ladies with me. We had a wonderful time at Hobby Lobby and then went out to dinner. We had a great time. So, mwah to Denise and Darlene. Hi. We had a great time. They were so much fun. I have a product that I use from time to time, and it's very difficult for me to get here. And so I've been ordering it from Dick Blick, but by the time I get it across the border and pay all the taxes, the duties, and all that stuff, it costs a small fortune. So my new friends in Detroit took off to, I think, 2 or 3 different Dick Blicks in the city and stocked me up really good. So I'm set. I've got lots now. So, but I wanted to give a shout out to Dick Blick because 1, I really like the service. 2, they have a really awesome selection of product. So if you're looking for virtually anything as far as art supplies go, you got to go check out dickblick.com. If you're Canadian, shop on dickblick.com. The exchange rate isn't that bad. Their pricing is very reasonable. And as long as you make it worth your while, it's great.
Apparently you had enablers.
I do. I had a whole bunch of enablers. It was great fun. They were an awesome bunch. I had a lot of fun. Awesome. So what else? I had Happy Mail this week too. Yay. Art supplies.
Envelopes.
I finally got, oh yes. Yesterday and today. This has been the bane of my existence for the last couple of weeks. I have been rapidly running out of shipping materials. We have tons of product. We've been getting product, no problem. But what we haven't been able to get is shipping materials, envelopes, packing tape, just the stuff that we use on a daily basis to ship orders. We've really been having a tough time getting. And so I've been placing order after order after order for the last 2 weeks and have not been able to get anything. boxes started arriving yesterday afternoon, and I got the last of them this morning. So finally, I have stuff. I was literally down to my last 11 envelopes. All these orders, it was ridiculous. 11 envelopes. That doesn't get me through a day. So that's where we have shipping delays. It's not necessarily with shipping companies. It's not even with product arriving here. The problem is getting shipping materials. So that's been crazy. Packing tape, stickers, labels, boxes, all of the stuff that we use for shipping orders, we haven't been able to get. So when I was down to that last, 11 envelopes and one single roll of tape, I was like, something's got to change soon. So fortunately, I got a bunch yesterday and today, not the stuff that I usually get. So you take what you can get. So that's what it's been like here for the last couple of weeks. Just have not been able to get anything. So hopefully that little supply chain issue has sorted itself out and we can get the rest of your orders shipped out this week. Because they're kind of backing up. We have nothing to pack them in. So that has been my biggest problemo this week.
I was wondering why my order hasn't shown up yet.
Can't ship it if we can't put it in something. It's been crazy. So if you're wondering why things have been delayed, we do apologize for the delays and we are trying to get them out as quickly as possible, but you're going to see some probably some unusual packing materials in the next couple of weeks because we kind of had to make do with what we can get. So it's been interesting. I'm looking forward to today. If any of the materials that we're using today you don't have and would like to have, we do have them available on the website. We have the grunge sets are on sale. We have the vintage note stamps are on sale. The postage stencil that we're using is on there. Go figure, it's a cancellation stamp. We're using that one. So there's a bunch of good stuff on the website this week. We've got surfaces in, we've got pens in, like all the stuff that has sort of been having a hard time getting. All of it has finally arrived. So the website is fully stocked. We also put up the new members pattern went up this week. It's called Black and White. That one I'm so excited about because it's something a little different. And we added new stencils. Of course, we added some new stencils to the website. Those are kind of cool. And what else did we do this week? Oh, the new pattern for today. And there was something else and I forget what it was.
I don't know.
My brain's not functioning today. I can paint, but I can't think. So interesting. So yeah, we're going to have fun today doing this. I got lots of teacups in. Miss Deb was a busy woman. So busy, she broke her laser. I got to tell you, she's been doing the coolest surfaces. So if you get a chance, go and check out paintingwithdeb.com. She's been cutting some of the neatest things. And yesterday or the day before, she launched this new Halloween piece called Boo. It's flippin' awesome. Go and check it out. It's the word boo, but it's really cool. You got to go and check it out. So it's paintingwithdeb.com. If you're looking for the link, it's in the description below if you're on the YouTube channel. So go and check that out. I think that's it. Did I forget anything?
Does it say members only?
Where? On the video?
Oh, let me fix that. I apologize.
What the heck? I was just having a look at the glitter fund.
Hasn't moved.
Not did it? Well,
Not in
it
2
has
weeks.
actually, just not on there. I checked the glitter fund online yesterday, and it was $1,262. I love it. And if you're on the website, something that we did, I did. I posted a donation button, a PayPal donation button on the front page of the website for the glitter fund. So I'm determined he's going to have glitter and lights in this beard.
It does say members only.
Well, get rid of that. Oh my goodness. I'm looking to see if there's any questions. There's Nelda Sanders. And Keiko Ameda. Hi, Keiko. Nice to see you, sweetie. Janet Mills, Media. Nice to see you. Heavens to Bitsy. What else? Who else did I meet? Debbie Warren. Hi, Debbie. And Tara Ellis. Hey, sweetie. Valerie Clemens, all the way from Oklahoma. Hope you guys are all okay down there. I know you guys had some lousy weather this week. Cindy Braden. Hi, sweetie. And Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And
I at least fixed it for the
Sandy
YouTube channel.
Fowler. There's a whole bunch of you in here today.
Wonder if I could
Mary Davis. Anna Fleury is in cold and rainy Wisconsin. Did you know that?
Is it cold and rainy in Wisconsin?
Apparently it is.
See if I can fix it on...
Avis Randall. One of the most beautiful women I have ever met. Miss Avis. She's lovely. And Lori Fife. I thought you were off traveling, Miss Lori. But I'm glad to see you here.
Well, it's a good thing they don't give it a title on Facebook.
Why?
Because I don't have to change it.
Oh, okay.
We good.
Okay, yep, we're not, Sully remembers now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, we weren't to begin with. It was just the title was
Oh,
called
it
Members
was just
Only.
saying members only. Okay. Yeah. Well, guys, I think if you are ready to get started painting Dogwood, so am I.
Let's get it going.
Dogwood is just such a unique flower. As I said, I was interested to learn that these white and pink petals, for lack of a better term, are actually leaves, and the flower part is just this portion in here. I didn't realize that. It was an interesting thing to learn. Little piece of useless information. I'm constantly coming up with UFI.
Got a lot of people asking how your trip was.
You know what? I had a great time. The travel portion of it went fairly smooth. Could have been much worse. The best part of the whole trip was spending, a couple of days with the gals in the Village Painters. They were incredible hosts, and we had such a good time. We painted, we played, we did a lot of laughing, and they were just phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The trip home was a little bit different. It was delays. So, but I got here in the same calendar date that I left. So, I can't really complain. And I was vastly amused by the behavior of certain individuals.
Of course. People watching is half
I
the
like
fun.
people watching. Yeah, well, and it's always nice to see someone who acts up get his comeuppance. And it was karma's funny and enjoyable at times. So we're going to tackle Dogwood, and the first thing we're going to do is develop this background. Georgie Gauze. Is it Goss? Goss? It has been a while. I'm glad you're feeling better, Georgie. I'm just checking a few. Good grief. I miss a few.
Yeah, I'm guessing you got the Facebook there?
Yeah, but it's always a bit behind.
Always.
And it seems to be stuck. So.
What, the video or the...
Yeah, the video just sort of stuck. That's okay. So we're going to start with this. This is just a lamp black background.
How many suitcases did you fill with Hobby Lobby purchases?
I was very well behaved, I'll have you know. My Hobby Lobby purchases were under $200, which is virtually unheard of. And I only had 2 small suitcases, so I really didn't have room with all my other stuff. So I'm going to give this a light sanding.
I've seen her leave here with 2 suitcases and come back with 3.
I wish I could say he was kidding. Hobby Lobby. I love Hobby Lobby.
No frisking at security?
No, I did make a customs agent laugh, though.
I don't believe her.
Well, he asked me what my plans were for the weekend. And I told him, shopping and margaritas. And he laughed, told me to enjoy my time in Detroit and to have a margarita for him. It was a lot of fun. And then I got to meet all my friends. We had a great weekend. So I just brushed this down with a little bit of water. It just helps remove some of the dust. Not only that, but brings it back to black. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to play with some stamps. Now, these are part of the grunge set. The cancellation stamps and this one. I really like these. These are a Stampendous set. I have a whole bunch of these on the website. I really like these ones. And then, of course, I have to use this one because, like, this is my favorite. The Vintage Note. I love this stamp. So I have nice smooth surface. I'm going to put a little bit of warm white. That's this one here, warm white. The color number is DA239. I use this one a lot. And I'm going to use this little Tim Holtz mini brayer. I really love these things. And I'm going to roll out some white paint. And this is how I'm going to load the stamp, is with this little brayer. I just find this is much more effective than trying to, stick it into a puddle of paint on my palette. And I'm going to add some stamping details here and there. I haven't reloaded the stamp because I kind of like it when the paint runs out a little bit. And I'm going to reload this. I like that. I like that sort of random and a little indistinct on the surface. There we go. And then I got this fun one. This is part of the grunge set. I love this. Need to have a little bit of elegance in all of this stuff. So I'm going to roll this with white and almost wear it. Well, I did wear it. Because I'm gifted that way. Honestly. I gotta turn this upside down. And put it across the top. I just like that. I like these little curly cues. And I think I'll do it again. I think right there. It can overlap things. It doesn't matter. I just like the looseness of that. And then this one, I like this one too. This is just, looks like a ledger entry. There we go. It just changes. It doesn't look the same. And then this one is a lot of fun. I really like this one. This one looks like cracked paint. So we're going to put that in a couple of places. I'm thinking right here, just a little bit, and then probably a little bit more right there. I like it. And then, I have to do this. These are cancellation stamps. I really like these. I have a variety of these. The grunge set comes with one, and I scrounged this from another stamp set. I have a minor obsession with cancellation stamps.
Kim-ish.
Hi, Kim. My sweetie. That's my skull-loving girl. There's a parcel on the way to you, by the way.
Apparently had a great time last weekend.
Oh, yes. Kim and I always have a great time. She's just such a doll. Kim is the one that gave me my bumblebee earrings.
Oh, yeah?
And my bumblebee bag. Yeah. Yes. Color me happy. So this little set, which was one that my buddy Deb had sent me, has little cancellation stamps in it and some fun little, various shapes and whatnot. I really love these. And the more unique they are, the better. I like this one. So we're going to use this cancellation step.
Pam says I'm late, but you can start now.
I can start now. Okay, thanks again. So I'm going to tuck a few of these little cancellation stamps in because I like them. And I kind of like these two close together. I like that because then I can, do that. And then I can come over here and do this. These are really fun. And having these little acrylic blocks is great fun too. So I'm going to put a little ink on there. There we go. Super fun. I love this stuff. I like cancellation stamps, and the more unique they are, the happier I am. So we're going to have to dry this because we're going to knock this back quite a bit. Going to age it a little bit. I managed to get paint all over my workstation. Miss Kim Ish shares my love of all things Scully.
All things Scully.
Yep.
Not Mulder?
Pardon me?
Not
Mulder, no.
No.
Skull-ish.
Skull-ish?
Yeah. Today I'm all about bumblebees, though. I'm wearing bumblebees galore.
Bumblebees.
Yeah, Kim gave me a set of Betsy Johnson bumblebee earrings, and I just love them. How can you not love bumblebees? How can you not love Betsy Johnson, for that matter? I love Betsy Johnson. I have a skull purse by Betsy Johnson. Love it. Okay, I managed to get white paint on my surface here to clear it off before I get
too artsy fartsy.
Well, I'll end up wearing most of it if I don't clean it up. Did you forget who you were talking to? So I'm going to, this is well dry, I'm going to take a little bit of a Sphaltum, one of my favorite colors.
Have you ever used the Brilliance stamp pads?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Nope. You can use the stamp pad for this. There's no saying you can't. I just like using the white paint. So we're going to put a wash of asphaltum over top of this. I have heavily thinned it. I want to knock it back a bit. I'm going to brush that right over top. I did this yesterday and the paint underneath wasn't quite dry and I ended up...
Smear.
Oh, what a mess. So I had to start over. Because I'm gifted that way. So I'm just putting a wash of asphaltum over top of all of this. It's just going to age all that white. And it's also going to warm up that black so that it's not such a harsh contrast. Wouldn't want that. There we go. I'm going to dry this.
Apparently your negative space looks like a gargoyle.
Right here. I can see it. This kind of looks like a wing. Kind of looks like a wolf's head right there. Lie on our back, look up at the clouds. That one looks like a mushroom. That one looks like a frog. You ever wonder what clouds think when they look down at us? That one looks like an idiot.
You're usually right.
Yep. Now, you can adjust this if you want to. It all depends. I like it to be a little bit darker than this. I think this is still a little bit too bright.
Oh my.
For me? What?
You have to give a shout out to Patrick.
Yes, I do. I got Happy Mail from Patrick just before I left. 2 great big Gray Matters palettes.
Do you have one of them in front of you?
No, I don't. But Patrick, thank you so much, sweetie. I really appreciate it. I've not been able to find them. Every place that usually carries them didn't seem to have any. So, Mr. Patrick, sweetheart that he is, sends me an Amazon gift. And I got 2 great big Gray Matters palettes, so call me happy. So when I'm finished with this cheap, what is it, Art Minds or whatever the Michaels brand is, palette paper, I will be using my Gray Matters. Because I love my Gray Matters. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So that's toned that down enough for me, I think. It was still a little bit bright. I just wanted it to go back a bit. So our next step is we're going to use that postage stencil. See, it repeats that cancellation stamp thing. I love this stencil. This is one of my favorites.
Patrick says he was just worried that you weren't going to receive them.
Yeah, they did. They came just before I left, literally. And then I've been playing nothing but catch up since I got back. So, I'm going to clear off my palette.
Pam is wondering what size is this, and is it canvas or wood?
This one is a wood panel, but you can use canvas, and it's an 8x8. I get these ones from michaels.com. So, I'm going to choose.
Margaret Farah? Farah?
Farah. Yep.
Farah. Says she really enjoyed painting with you last week.
They were a wonderful group. Had a lot of fun. So I'm using a little bit of 24 karat gold. It's this one, the Extreme Sheen. This I think, is my favorite gold paint. I really love that this got such a great sparkle to it. So this is the one I'm using. I rarely have a stencil design that's just fully inside the surface. I always like to take it off, even if it's only a little. I like to take it off the surface a bit. It's just more interesting. So I'm going to apply a little gold paint and change directions. Here we go.
Makes you think there's more to it too.
Yes. Well, it's as if this surface continues elsewhere.
Yeah. You're looking at a small piece of the artwork.
Yeah.
Rather than
the entirety of it.
thing.
Yeah. The other thing I like is to having some of these images overlap. And I'm using this other postage stamp and cancellation stamp on this one. And I'm going to overlap these 2 little ones a little bit. A little bit of gold paint. I like it. Now, you can do as much or as little of this as you want. Just keep in mind, you've got a floral going in there. I'm thinking I want to tack a little bit over here. Just a little. Doesn't have to be the complete design. I think it's just the element that appeals to me. So. And this just helps create an interesting background. Now, I'm going to dry this really well. These metallics, they have a tendency to stay a little bit tacky, a little bit sticky for a bit. So make sure they're good and dry before you continue. Now, this next part is entirely optional. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Depends. But I'm going to, okay. So I'm going to grab a nice big angled shader, a little bit of water, and some lamp black. And we're going to put a float of lamp black around the outside edge of the surface. It's not a neat and tidy float. It's not perfect. It's just enough to age the edges a little. If this were a lighter background, I would probably do this with asphaltum as opposed to with black. But because we have a black base coat, I figured I would do it with this. So just a little bit of that lamp black around the outside edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. But that little bit of black is just going to give this a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of visual weight. There we go. And it's subtle. It's surprisingly subtle. Let's dry that. And then we're ready to trace and transfer our line drawing onto this surface. And so that little bit of black does nice things. Just gives it a little bit more dimension, a little bit of weight, and a little more interest on those edges and corners. So this one is all ready. So if I have a design that I want to put on here, it's good to go. All I have to do is trace and transfer it on. So I've done a little bit of prep work because we do have a couple of steps before we begin working on this floral. I have my line drawing in place. And while I still have black on my palette, I'm going to take some of that black and I want to float into the areas behind this flower. Just a little, doesn't have to be much, just enough to lift that flower off the surface a little bit. You'll be surprised, even though it's black on black, that little bit is going to make a difference on how this floral looks on that background. Just gives it a little bit more weight, a little elevation. There's a little bit there. Now, you don't want to put it everywhere because then it just looks like you've got a circle drawn around your floral, and that's not necessary, but we just want to give it a little bit of shading. More towards the center of the flowers. It gives them nice depth. And I think I'm just about done. So it doesn't take much, but it does help elevate these flowers just a little bit. And if you're not satisfied with the depth of it, you can always come back in and do it again. And that little bit will do wonders. Just helps give this that little bit of lift. And again, it's subtle. It's not an in-your-face look. So from here, we're going to start adding some color to these flowers, and we're going to do that with a little bit of warm white. I gotta find a good round brush. I'm going to use a round. Here we go. The ones I'm using are, these are the Dynasty Water Lily. And I've got a little bit of warm whites. And we're going to thin this quite a bit. It is not going to be an opaque base coat. So I'm using some Joe Sonia's. I'm going to thin this paint out. Very milky. I want this paint really thin. And because I'm thinning it this much, I'm using some of the glaze instead of water. So I'm going to use my brush. And even this is a little thick, but it'll do. And I put my color on following the shape of those petals. Like so. It's still a little too thick. So there we go. And you'll notice that I am following the shape of the petal when I'm putting this color in. It's heavily thinned. It's very watery. There is a method to my madness for this. I'm going to use the texture that we create in these flowers to our benefit. And that paint is going to be really thin. And we're going to make that thin paint work in our favor. Lots and lots of glaze, a little bit of paint. It is going to be very watery. And again, you'll notice I'm following the shape of those petals. So not your typical base coat. That's okay. I don't mind. Atypical works for me. And it is hard at times to see these line drawings. I didn't press as hard as I perhaps should have. So as I'm filling in this base coat, I'm leaving a bit of a space so that I can see the edges of the other portions of these petals. And you'll notice that these are turning more gray than they are white, which is precisely what we want. And we're going to use an overstroke technique for these. So essentially, we're going to use layers of white over top of this. One layer at a time to help create a little dimension. And it's going to help really create the overall texture in these leaves. I keep wanting to call them petals, but now that I know they aren't petals. So there we go. So we have our petals base coated, leaves, and I'm going to do the same thing to these leaves. This little touch of greenery that we added. And again, I follow the shape of each of those. So you can see this is not a fully opaque base coat, but that little bit of white, especially on these leaves, is going to make all the difference. Because it's going to change how the greens we put over top of them are going to look. So I think I'm happy. And the color I chose to work with today is called Poetic Plum. That's going to be our pink in this.
Did I get the stars?
Well, Renee stepped out for a bit, so he's going to have to scroll back. Oh yeah, there is stars. Yes, DGATs, we got them. DGAT sent 530 stars.
It didn't show up on here.
Yeah, I see it.
No, did it?
Showing up on the Facebook feed. So there is our base color for our dogwood. This next step is interesting. I love the idea of working in layers. It just lends you a lot of control over how things go. And so I think you're going to find this rather intriguing when we do this, because it's very effective and surprisingly simple. So I'm going to make sure that that's good and dry before I do this next part.
Where can you find the little sanding disc you used?
They have been as rare as hen's teeth, unfortunately. I used to get them from stockade.ca, but honestly, they are harder and harder to find. So this layer for this dogwood, we're going to start up here. Now, what we're going to do is create this. See this texture that you're seeing in here? Instead of just drawing in these lines, we're just going to create them by how we apply the paint. And so I'm going to start out here. I'm using slightly thicker paint, and I'm going to put a stroke like this in. And then the next stroke is going to leave a little space.
What can you use if you don't have Poetic Plum?
You know, berry cobbler will work very well. So I essentially just put 4 strokes of white over top of, and it doesn't have to be neat and tidy, but you need to have that little space in between. Down to the center, just like so. So they do not have to be perfect. And then we're going to do this again for each petal. Just don't forget that little space in between, because that is going to be the texture in our petals, leaves, whatever you want to call them.
Bunny leaves.
Bunny leaves. So I just found that this particular technique works really, really well, and it helps build that structure of the petals. It helps give it that texture, that dimension, and at the same time it helps shape the leaf really nicely. Leaf, petal, it's rather confusing. It looks like a flower, but it's not technically the flower. So I'm just pressing down on my brush. Let the brush open up. And it leaves that gap in there.
Should be 500 twice.
Oh, I could only go back so far. Oops.
It's not showing up on the software at all.
Okay. Yep. There's 5:30.
Oh,
Yep.
if we did that.
That was D. No, I only see the one so far, but I'd have to go all the way back. Anyway. So you can see that it creates that texture.
I haven't seen the gingerbread man today.
The gingerbread man.
The gingerbread
Oh, the gingerbread man.
man. The muffin man. Do you know the muffin man? Hey, there's the gingerbread man.
Oh, so somebody just had to like. So I rather like this technique. It gives you great texture, establishes direction, the pattern in the petals.
I just googled dogwoods.
Yep,
The white part are called bracts.
Brex. Interesting. I was just fascinated to learn that they're not actually petals. That was news to me. Similar to magnolia in some ways.
Steel magnolia?
No,
No?
just magnolias.
Okay.
I'm too easy to confuse today. Stop it.
Too easy to confuse.
So we've already established all of that texture in the petals. And bear with me, it's going to look a little funky for a bit. And we're going to come in and do this again, but we're going to use a slightly smaller brush.
What were you just using?
I am using a number 6 round. So I'm going to grab a number 4. Maybe, if I can find one.
Did you retire your liners yet?
I did. Got some new ones. I'm going to switch to a number 2, and we're going to grab a little titanium white.
It's Peggy Jones watching from California.
Okay. How come I can't find a bottle of titanium white? I have to go over to my paint cabinet and find some titanium white. That was the other thing I did. I bought up all the warm white I could find the other day. I was in the dollar store and bought oodles of warm white.
Yeah.
So we're going to use a little bit of titanium white for this part.
I'm going to go to Facebook.
And I'm going to do the same thing I did with the warm white. I'm going to thin it out a little bit. And then I'm going to overstroke all of this texture. First I gotta make sure it's nice and dry before I do this, otherwise I'll have my hands in the paint. Because it's me. So I have a little bit of titanium white, and I'm going to overstroke and slightly smaller where I've already been. Just a little smaller. So the stroke fits inside that warm white, but doesn't hide it completely. And that little bit of titanium white is going to act like a highlight when we're done. There we go. These are just a neat flower. So that little stroke is, as I said, a little bit smaller than the one before it. It's funny the things that you discover when you're researching something. I had my post up the other day that talked about the Botticelli's Birth of Venus, and that there are over 500 species of flowers or 500 species of plants and 190 different flowers in that single painting. And yet, in the photograph, you can't see the entire painting anyway, but most people can't fathom how he did it. Just like I was searching for information on dogwood. I had no idea there were so many varieties of dogwood. And they vary depending on where they are. And this one is called flowering dogwood. Seems like a bit of an oxymoron to me, considering that I'm painting the flower or the leaves. So I've got that titanium white everywhere. And it needs to be well dry for this next step, because this is where it takes on a more velvety and a more thick looking appearance. I'm going to switch back to my bigger round for this. And just make sure everything is well dried so that I don't mess this up, because I've already done that once this week. And remember what I did for the base coat on these flowers? I thinned out the warm weight quite dramatically. And we're going to come back in over the whole petal and put in a coat of that warm white. Heavily thinned. Heavily, heavily, heavily thinned. So it become a bit more subtle. All of that texture that we put in is going to be a little more subtle. And the leaves or petals are going to look a little more opaque. I am going to hold this up, because on camera where I was, it actually looks like they disappear, but they really don't. They're right there. So it is subtle, but they're there. So heavily thinned. We want just a wash of that warm white over everything. We don't want to bury it completely. But it does two things. One, it makes the leaves appear, or petals, the flowers, appear a bit more opaque, but we don't lose any of that texture. Gives us some nice crisp edges on those plants too. I just find this method gives them a much more painterly look. Less of a toll painted appearance and a more painterly appearance. So look at that. We have all kinds of that texture left. And they're a bit more opaque. Those petals take on a more velvety look. I think the texture of dogwood is similar to a magnolia as well. The petals are a little thicker and a bit more velvety feeling.
Bulbs everywhere.
Yeah, they do look like garlic bulbs. So I'm going to give this a chance to dry, and we're going to start adding some of the other colors to this. Been a little obsessed with black and white. Don't know why. Might be because I've been seeing a lot of it in home decor. A lot of the trend reports. We're seeing a lot of black and white polka dots, black and white check. So I'm a little obsessed with black and white. And I think you need a punch of color with black and white. So I'm going to grab, I'm using lush green today.
Oh, what's for dinner?
What's for dinner? We're having chicken souvlaki.
Yum. Summertime food.
Yep. We're doing it on the grill.
Fresh. Fresh.
I put my chicken on to marinade yesterday.
Fresh food.
Quarter cup fresh lemon juice. Half teaspoon of salt. Tablespoon of oregano. 3 cloves of garlic. Because, it's me. I love garlic. And some good quality olive oil. And I thinly sliced up my chicken breast, split them in half lengthwise, pounded them out a little bit, and then season them on both sides, little salt and pepper, and then drop them into the marinade and let them sit overnight.
Yum.
And then when we're ready, we'll throw those on a nice hot grill until they are just cooked. Love lush green. What a great color this is. It's very similar to antique green. This is antique green. I thought I grabbed lush green.
Amy Knight. I've managed to lock myself out of certain accounts because I can't remember the passwords. And because I'm in a different country, I'm being locked out.
Oh, no.
Ouch.
That sucks. So, antique green or lush green. I thought I had lush green in my hand, but I've got antique green. Color number for this one is DA147.
Oh, Jessica.
There's my lush.
Oh, I missed a bunch here.
See?
Jessica just donated $35.
Thank you, Jess.
Getting closer to the glitter beard.
Yep.
$35 from Jessica. I heard you were getting pretty close to the glitter beard. Yeah.
Closer all the time. Now that I set up that donate button on the front page of the
No.
website.
That's completely separate.
Uh,
That's completely separate.
Oh, no.
No,
That's all going to the glitter
separate.
fund,
That's
baby.
separate.
Nope.
That's separate. They're close enough with just the super chat and the stars, all right?
I'm just trying to put you out of your misery. That's all.
It's still only happening on the 12 Days of Christmas event.
Yes, I know, but, we're just removing all doubt. That's all.
With the time left to gather the money, you'll be bathing in glitter. No.
Lights.
Next is lights.
Yep. We're going over the...
If you hit $2,000, you get lights in the beard.
Yep. I'm determined.
And I have yet to trim the beard since I've started this.
I can attest to that.
I might have to trim it just to get rid of some of the stragglies.
He's starting to look like a member of ZZ Top.
Just not as blonde.
Yep.
The Irish ZZ Top.
An Irish ZZ Top. We're going to use a little asphaltum. We're going to paint in the branches on this one. I used a little bit of asphaltum. So just base coat that in. You can add a little bit of black to that asphaltum just to give it a shadow.
Hello from M15 Garage Sale. Brandon High School Craft Show. Send buyers, please.
Was that Kathy?
We're aiming for all 12 days. No.
That's funny. So I just, a little bit of asphaltum for those stems in there. I know there's not a lot of it, but it's just, put in a little bit of a stem so their flowers are connected. And then while you have that asphaltum out, we're going to put a little bit right in the center here, just to fill in that space, because we're going to tuck a little bit of some interesting stuff in there. But I like to have that little bit of asphaltum down, like so. So now we have flowers and leaves.
Oh, I can easily get those sunglasses. They're actually pretty close to the style I wear.
Yep. As I said, you're starting to look like a member of ZZ Top.
If I didn't break my last pair,
Yeah.
I would have been, yeah.
So now we're going to start adding blushes of color to these dogwood. I love this part because I really like this color on that warm white. This is Poetic Plum. It's very transparent. It's a beautiful purple. I actually think it's probably closer to like a deep magenta. It has there's purple in it, but more of a reddish tone. And then when you put it over top of this warm white, it just takes on this really beautiful, rich pink. And I can't get the plastic off of this blessed thing. So cut it. I used to be able to get these off pretty easy, but lately I haven't been able to do it.
Need a razor blade to help you?
Yeah. Knife, gun, whatever I can find. So this is Poetic Plum. This one came out in 2021. This is just such a lush, such a rich color. And the color number for this one is DA396. So if you're looking for it, it's so pretty. And we need a nice little angled shader for this. I'm using a 3/8. And we're going to use just a small amount of color. You don't need a ton on the brush. It is a strong color.
Bring your palette in.
Yeah. Move stuff out of the way. I got too many brushes out. I got brushes
you got
everywhere.
Room.
So we've got a little bit of Poetic Plum. Such a pretty color. And I'm going to blend that out really well. I don't want it full strength because it's a really strong color. And we're going to put it in two places. We're going to go around the center portion of the flower, but most importantly, we're going to put it out here at the tip of these petals. And it's just a little blush of color, little float at the tip, like so. And then just blend it a little so that it's not, a heavy, so you have that little blush just at the tip of the petal, like that. Neatness doesn't really count for this. Doesn't have to be perfect. But I do want to see that little blush right at the point.
Polished black or matte black?
Matte. Oh, for the glasses?
Yeah.
Matte black.
Okay.
So don't forget that little tip on that.
Oh, matte black's not available.
Oh, Muffy.
Gloss black, clear, matte black. Holy crap, that's a heck of a discount.
He's shopping for glasses if you haven't figured
Well,
that out.
my last pair of Oakleys,
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I've been trying to find the exact same ones, but since I got those from my old job,
Yep.
they were like one of a kind things.
Yep.
And I finally found them, and they're normally like a $300 glass. Yeah, 156.
Okay.
That's not bad.
So I really like that little blush of color at the tip of the petals. That's what makes Dogwood, in my view. And I love what it does for these petals. Just makes them so much more interesting.
I wonder if my distributor code still works.
Dunno. So there's that little blush right at the tip. We've got one more flower to do down here. Well, the fun part about this is that if it's not dark enough for you, you can do this again. And I will probably do it again because I really like a little more intensity. And I like that I can take that down the edge of the petal a little bit. Comme ça. So these are coming together. So now I'm going to come down by the center of the flower, and we're going to do this again. I want a little more color for this. I'm going to rinse this brush out. I want a little more color. Down here where it's closest to the center of the flower, I want to leave the center of each of those petals quite white. And the fun part is that little shadow down there just gives these flowers all that depth. Pretty, pretty. Now, I said that the branches on dogwood, on this particular variety of dogwood, is sort of red, and it's very much that color that you see at the center of the petals in there. So a deep purplish red. Liking it. very pinky red to a little more earthy. And we're going to use that for shading some of these areas. Now there's a turnover here on this petal, and I want to put a little shadow in there, like so. And there's a little shadow here where these two petals overlap. And to separate these ones, just a little. And this is just that little darker value. I'm going to change it again.
Lost a picture. What?
Where?
YouTube.
Really?
I must investigate.
And then there's a little shadow right here. So underneath where all these little turnovers are, where these little flips are, we're going to use that little bit of Poetic Plum mixed with.
No, seems to be running.
So there is our shading color. So we've got a little shading in all of those little flips, all those little turnovers. And now we're going to enhance that texture in these petals. And I'm heavily thinning out that mixture. Remember this little bit of asphaltum and that plum? I'm heavily thinning it. And I'm going to use a little float of it right on that line. So those lines that are still showing, I'm going to run a float of that heavily thinned mixture right on that line. Just like that.
Here. I do have to trim the mustache. It's starting to curl into the mouth.
So you can see that by doing that, it still leaves a lot of that white showing.
I just dropped DirecTV, YouTube, and streaming is all I have now. Lord help us. What? Sandy.
Miss Sandy McDear.
No, Sandy Jackson.
Oh,
Just sent us 200 stars.
nice.
Thanks for everything you do. We'll watch replay later. Back to working working nights.
Oh my
Ouch.
goodness.
Love this piece.
So that little bit of floating down that open area is what gives you that dimension. Jeez Louise, I got my cord. Don't ask me how I did that.
But you did.
I did. I managed to get my cable wrapped all the way around my heat gun and around the microphone. Don't know how.
Now you're double checking.
Now I'm double checking to make sure. So I'm going to grab my rigger and I'm going to thin out a little bit of warm white. And I'm going to put my little folds in because there is a few right here. So
Even Deb is wondering how did you do that?
I don't know how I did that. So I'm just using, there's a few little folds in these flowers, and I'm just using my rigger and a little bit of warm white.
Color is beautiful on the TV, but washed out on my laptop.
Yeah.
Yep. Depends on resolution.
Yep.
If you have a really good TV with high resolution, colors are going to pop.
Yep. So I am a fan of this, just putting this little stroke so that you get those nice little folds on the petals. It just cleans everything up really nicely. And there's a couple of little spots here. I want to clean that up.
Direct TV for 20 years could have bought a Lamborghini for what I paid paid them with the football packages.
Fortunately, we don't watch football.
Not a football family. Not even a hockey family.
Not really. We watch it sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually Olympic hockey.
That's kind of the big one.
Yeah. Usually watch the Olympic hockey, but aside from the rest, I just whatever.
And it's usually just the finals.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And only if Canada is in the finals.
And only, yep. So I'm going to use my rigger just to stroke in a few little clean lines at the edges of these petals. Because I like clean lines. And it does give you a pretty line.
75%.
Well, you're a little better than that.
No. Those don't count. Those donations don't count.
Sure they do.
No.
Now, I want to show you something fun. You can take a liner and a little bit of that purple. And I kind of like this little extra zap of color on that little, I don't know what to call that. That's a little fold, this little opening at the edge of it. There's nothing wrong with putting just a nice little bit of that really intense color right there. It just livens things up. When you look at the dogwood, on some petals it's really intense and on others it's just a blush. And I kind of like the intense part. There we go. And if you want, you can pull a few fine lines out from the center. If you want.
Mom.
What?
Can I?
Can you what? No. You got puppies on the brain.
He's 18 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Dad and I watched Shara walking Gus this morning. Well, he literally stopped right at the end of Steve's driveway and was looking at them. Shara ended up picking him up to get him home. In a few more weeks, she won't be able to do that. Because he's going to be a little on the heavy side.
He's going to be a smart dog.
Yeah.
He's a smart dog.
He is smart, yeah. I mean, he's so funny. He's kind of quirky.
He's a retriever.
Yeah.
He's a golden retriever.
Yeah, he's quirky.
They're all quirky.
I just think it's hysterical. He just plunks his butt right at the end of Steve's driveway. Poor Shara is just trying to get him home, and he's having none of it. So the fun part about these is the centers are super easy to do. And because I'm going to be using all the same greens in the center that I use on the leaves, we're going to do that after I do the leaves.
Does Hobby Lobby sell the rigger brushes?
Not that I know of. Brush Guys have them.
Of course.
Dick Blick has them.
Hey.
You can order any one of my brushes on Dick Blick. So I need some Sprout or Margarita. Either one. You just need a high yellow green. It's matcha green. I keep losing things this week. Don't know why. That's not Margarita. There it is, Margarita. And I'm going to, just because it's Renee, I'm going to use a little bit of neon green. Yeah! Renee likes neon green. And we're going to use some plantation pine for our shading color. A little bit of Margarita. And neon green. Renee's a big fan of these neons.
They're great for highlights.
So we're going to use some for the highlights. Just for no other reason than to make him happy.
And they catch the eye.
They do. So we're going to shade these leaves with a little bit of plantation pine. At the base, if you've watched before, you know that I don't do a whole lot with these simple leaves, simply because they don't need it. So I'm going to use just a U-shaped float at the base of the leaf where it joins the stem, just to give it a nice little shadow there. And the same with this one.
How about that face? That face?
He's a tad obsessed with puppies these days. Puppy dogs. Seems like half the neighborhood's gotten a new puppy in the last few weeks. Oh, I want that one. What is the name of Jeff and Shara's dog? Is it Gus?
Gus.
He is so cute.
There's Gus. There's Benny. Those are the two newest.
Oh, maybe it's Benny. It's Benny. Jeff and theirs is Benny. Gus
RCMP
is the other
officer?
one.
The RCMP officer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that's
Jeff's.
Benny.
Yeah. Gus is the other guy. To the street. It's pretty pathetic. We know all the dogs in the neighborhood. So I'm just going to float down the center vein of this leaf.
Does Renee,
I don't do it straight. It's got to have a curve in it.
Does Renee paint? I used to paint motorcycles.
Yeah. Give him an airbrush and he can paint. And I'd be willing to bet that he could paint like nobody's business.
Probably. I don't want to.
So we got a center vein on all of these leaves. Now, the green leaves on a dogwood are pretty sparse while they're flowering, and then they fill in later on, but I was fascinated by some of the things I learned about dogwood. So I'm going to add a highlight. I'm using Margarita because I really like Margarita. Just going to put a nice little float.
I know all the dogs' names in my neighborhood, but I don't know the people.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Who?
Oh yeah, the guy that's Gus's owner. Or his human, anyway. I love Gus. Gus is a cutie. We have a lot of university professors, retired RCMP, retired military that live out here in the village. And most of them have dogs, it seems.
Well, there's Ridgebacks, there's Great Danes, there's
a greyhound.
There is a greyhound.
Yeah. Is it a greyhound or a whippet? I think it's a greyhound.
Whippet's smaller.
Yeah.
There, even though there is an Italian whippet around here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's greyhound. There's 3 retrievers, golden retrievers. There's a few labs.
Yep.
There's
Couple of
2
shepherds.
chocolate labs. There's 1 blonde lab. There's 1. Buddy is actually a blonde lab.
Yes.
And he's a trained duck hunter. So trained as a retriever.
Yep. Cute dog.
There's a couple huskies.
Yep. Australian shepherd.
There's at least 2 Australian shepherds. There's 1 border collie that I know of. There is a Jackson Bull Terrier. He's not very friendly.
No, he's not.
There's the 3-legged pit bull.
Yeah. Who is very friendly.
Who is overly friendly. There's the Frenchie who likes to headbutt people.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the American Eskimo.
Mm-hmm. And there's a Shiba Inu at the end of the street.
Finnish Spitz.
Oh, it's a Spitz.
It's
okay.
a Spitz.
Okay. Looks like an Inu.
I made the mistake too. I'm like, is that a Shiba? Nope. It's a Finnish Spitz. They're very similar.
So all I'm doing is under those flips and turnovers, I'm just putting a thin float of asphaltum just to separate them a bit more. I was finding they were a little too close. So I wanted to give them a bit more definition and deepen those folds a little. Gives the flowers a bit more life.
I've got a Pyrenees. Beautiful dogs. Great dogs. Very family, very territorial. Great for the farm. They're a work dog. Very loving.
And there we go. So I've got my shading and my highlighting in place. I want to amp this up a little bit. I love this color. So I'm going to take a little bit of that neon green. I'm going to thin it out a little bit because I want to amplify some of these highlights a little bit. The one thing I found is that it only seems to work well if you've got a lighter value of green underneath it. But I love how that little bit just does wonders for that. Look at that.
The date for the membership group project at the end of May. What would the date be?
It's the last Wednesday of the month.
Which would be either the 31st. It would be the 31st. That would be the last Wednesday.
Yep. So it is the last Wednesday of the month.
My nephew recently adopted a long-haired German Shepherd named Zeus.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful and very friendly. Yep. It's a lot of maintenance, though.
Long hair. Yeah.
Long-haired shepherds. They're got to be brushed frequently. They mat up very quickly. And
So-
about 10 pounds of hair.
I'm going to show you a little trick. If you want the tips of your leaves to have a little bit of oomph, take some of your neon and mix it with a little bit of warm white.
Can you move the palette so they can see you mixing it.
So, yeah, just mix it with a little bit of warm white. It's going to make this like very zippy green. Zippy. And I like doing this. Just puts that nice little flip on the tip of the leaf. To the tip.
Ooh, everything's cracking today.
Just gives the leaves a little more interest, and that little punch of vibrancy just gives a little more attention to the leaves. I have always loved that little bit of zing out there. Just makes things a bit more interesting. And then this is where you can use your liner brush, and you can use this color to do that detailing. So all of these little stems that come off and onto your leaves, you can use that mixture for it. Just like that. And I am a big fan. I like to see a little texture. I like the softness that these little vines and tendrils add to things. They don't have to be in your face, but I do like to see them. They give things a little interest, and they make things pretty. And they connect things, so everything is nice and fluid. So we have pretty leaves. And then while we have all of those lighter value greens out, I'm going to use my small rigger. We're going to start adding a few colors to the center of our flower. And I like doing that with little dip dots. One, it just adds the texture of the center of the flower, and I'm doing that just sporadically with some of that margarita green. In my original, I get very heavy-handed with it, so I'm not keen on how the centers look. And if I were doing it again, I would do it like this, where the dots are a little smaller and a little more well-spaced. I think I overdid it on the first one, and they got a little too close together, and they lost some of their texture. They just looked like a whole bunch of dip dots together, which I didn't particularly care for. So given that I have the chance to fix it, I'm gonna do it just that. So I'm leaving a bit more space between and making the dots a little bit smaller for this one. Just as I said, I think I got a little heavy-handed with them on the first go round. And now I have the chance to fix that. So I'm doing it. So little dots. This is margarita. I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit of the sap green because I can. And again, I'm coming out onto those white waxy leaves, petals, whatever you want to call them. Just a little. Just gives it a nice texture. And then I'm going to do it with a little bit of that plantation pine in there. Just want to create texture in the centers. And I am going to highlight it with a little bit of warm white. We are going to use a little warm white in there. Just in the first batch, I think I got a little too heavy-handed.
Will there be a study for the membership this month?
Yes, there will. I'm a little slow off the mark this month. I was away for 4 days and got almost a month behind. Don't ask me how I did that.
I had an Aussie. My next dog is probably going to be an Aussie.
So this time around, I'm doing a little bit of warm white just to keep things highlighted. I don't want to kill it off, make the centers look too heavy. So I'm just adding some white. And the same thing over here. When I did this the first time, I found the centers got way too heavy. Not textured enough. Just looked like a whole bunch of dots all crowded together, and I didn't like that. And I like, what have I got going on here? I've got a stray hair. There we go. I like taking some of that white out onto the petals. It just softens the centers a little bit. Again, I think I kind of overdid it on the first one. So, nice light center. And I've got a little asphaltum. Remember the stems? I'm going to put a little white in there. I need to put a little highlight on the top of my stems. Just going to stroke that in with my little rigger here. Doesn't need to be too much, but it needs to connect.
What would my next dog be?
Yours?
Yeah.
That would be a Mal, I would think. I think.
Probably not.
No? Kitty?
I'd have to go hunting.
Uh-huh.
It'd be one of those looking at the puppies.
Uh-huh. Till one takes your attention.
Well, the one that doesn't take my attention.
Uh-huh. Okay. The one that wants nothing to do with you.
That's how Dot did it.
Yeah.
She was more interested in the newspaper she was laying on. But all her brothers and sisters were all about me, and she was like, nah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
So, our final step for this piece is this lettering up here. Now, I have a 0 rigger.
I'm going to zoom in for this.
Yep. And we haven't talked about lettering like this in quite some time. So, this should be fun. At least for me. At least for me it will. Yeah. So, this is a 0 rigger. It's a Dynasty Faux Squirrel 0 rigger. And for those of you that have never seen me work with one of these, it looks like a liner brush, like a script liner, but in actual fact, it is not. It has a round ferrule like a liner brush. It has that long, skinny bristle like a liner brush. But the difference is right here. When you look at a liner and spread them out, they come out like a round brush, so it has a curved edge. Whereas a rigger is squared off like a flat. And that's what makes these so great for doing lettering. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. And I'm going to thin a little bit of warm white. And so you can see that it's got that nice square edge on it. Just make sure that everything is dry so that I don't put my hand in wet paint. And I'm going to use that chisel edge and start at the top of the lettering. And I press down until it fills the space and then release the pressure so that it comes back up on the chisel edge. So all of these little areas chisel edge, fill the space, come back up on the chisel edge. I love riggers for lettering. So we get that nice squared off chisel. And then you can, when you release the pressure off of it, you get this really nice flow. Chisel edge, press down till it fills the space. Release the pressure, come back up on the chisel edge. Chisel edge, press down. Chisel edge. And then you can use that chisel edge to do those fine lines. I love my riggers. Super easy. Boom.
Dogwood.
A number 2 and a number 0 are perhaps the sizes that I use the most often when I'm doing lettering. Obviously, the smaller and finer the lettering, the smaller and finer the brush. So I tend, for something like this, often go to that 0 because I find it just gives you that much more control. So you're not knocking yourself out trying to get perfect lettering with the wrong brush. It has just the right amount of spring in it. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom of the letter. And then we're done. I had to stop and think about it. So while I am getting ready to do this, Renee is going to load up that wheel so that we can draw some names for those prize packs. So my lettering is dry. I'm going to grab my angled shader and a little bit of asphaltum. I love asphaltum for this. Going to just put a nice little shadow right at the base of each of those letters. Just a little float. Nothing over the top. Just enough to darken the bottom of the letter. Little float. Because we've got asphaltum all over the place anyway. And if your lettering gets a little lost in there, you can come in with a little float of lamp black and set it back a little if you want to. Just a couple of spots here that were not really defined well. So a little float of lamp black just to clean that up. Then I'm going to grab something fun because I can. Renee's going to load that up.
It's already done.
Is it?
Yeah.
Look at you. No flies on you.
Nope.
So I had an afterthought. This happens quite frequently. I had an afterthought. One of my favorite toys is this. I love this stuff. And I've got a lot of these because I'm crazy. So let me see, what have I got? What have I got? I need a pretty handle. I'm going to... This one here is fun. This one's got my queen bee on it. So I'm going to add my queen bee. It's that round thing. I've got this thing about round things. I don't know what it is. And what's a good color for this? Oh, you know what? I've got a little bit of bronze, methinks. And I have a candle going, so I'm going to... This is sealing wax. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to put a gob of sealing wax right here. Right there. Now this one is a paraffin base, this particular wax that I'm using. There's a variety of them. You can use the little tablets. They've got little beads that you can wax to do the, or melt to do this. I'm a fan of this sealing wax simply because, one, it's very efficient. And it's relatively easy to get. For a few years, this type of thing was hard to find, but you can get a lot of these on Amazon. There's a variety of places you can get them. And I like the fact that I'm smoking everywhere. I like these little drips and drabs. I like that. I think that that's a fun way to do this. So that is out. And then I've got this one. This one is one of my favorites. I'm going to press that into that puddle. I'm going to let it sit for a minute.
Almost reignited it.
I almost. There. I'll just dip it into my water dish. That'll take care of it. I like that color. And I like this sort of, this distressed look. And I like the spatters, the driplets and drops. And I think, yep, it's ready. So I've got lovely little honeybee, a queen bee on there. I used my heat gun for a second just to soften it. Now you can take a gold paint pen and burnish that so it shows up better if you want to, or a white pen, any one of them. I'm a fan of just leaving them alone because I kind of like the texture. And I just found this needed something else, this little bit of, I don't know, something, little something in here. And I love these things. These are just a fun way to add some dimension. Something that's really cute is to have a small dried flower through that puddle, or a piece of ribbon or lace that you can lay into it and then put your favorite stamp on. This one is one of my favorites. It's my queen bee. I have a bunch of different ones, as you can see, because I'm a little bit obsessed with these things. No. So I have one with paw prints. Did you know
got one with your signature?
I have one with my scribblature, yes. And I have a number of these, and you can find them in so many different places. They have some really great ones. You can even buy just the heads. You don't need to buy the handles all the time. I have one with just a honeybee. I have one with a crown because I'm special that way. And of course, I have one with a skull because, you know, that was happening. So these, as I said, they're fairly easy to find. You can get them at Michael's. You can find them. Even dollar stores have these. And they are a fun way to add a little bit of detail to them. You don't need to have any super fancy tools. You can get little packets of different colored seeds of wax and use those. Some you can use a little heating tray, or you can get this one. This one here is, this is Uniquo. And these ones are just different colored sticks of wax that look much like a candle. And they're just a sealing wax. So they're really easy to work with. And it's a fun way to add a little interesting detail to a finished piece of work. And that is our dogwood. Pretty piece.
Hola.
Hola. These are surprisingly easy to paint. They're not a really elaborate floral. And it adds, adds a nice touch to our series of French florals. I really like doing this one. This one was a lot of fun. And I like the added element of that little wax seal. So Renee is going to hit that little wheel.
Yes.
He's got, how many names are in that thing today?
We got a few.
A few, I'd say. I can't read it. So he's going to spin the wheel.
Spinning.
Spinning.
What are they getting?
There's some stamps. There's some stencils in there. There's a nice little 4-brush set, Dynasty Water Lily brushes they're going to have fun with.
Bonnie cloak.
Right on, Bonnie. Now, to get your name on the list is super easy. All you have to do is participate in the chat, share the video, or like the Facebook page, the Tracy Morrow Live Facebook page, or if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the big red subscribe button. It's that simple. And you can join us here every Saturday. We do something, some craziness, some sort of fun things with paint. And next weekend, we're going to be working on yet another welcome sign.
Another welcome sign?
Another welcome sign.
I thought there was going to be a cow.
The cow will be the following week, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. Because the cow's not quite finished. I'm not happy with him yet.
No?
No.
The Highland cow?
We're going to do a Highland cow, but next weekend we're going to do a fun thing with dragonflies and a welcome sign. We're going to have some fun with that. Who dat?
Brenda Ellis.
Right on. Brenda Ellis. I'm looking to see who's in it.
Brenda Ellis.
Lizbeth. Nice to see you on here. We're going to be, I've got a really fun prize for next weekend. We've got some gorgeous, festive stamps to give away next week, as well as some other fun stuff. So, yeah, I was gifted with a bunch of really cool stuff for next week.
Jerry Garvin.
Jerry Garvin, right on. So we have our 3 winners for this week. Jerry Garvin, Brenda Ellis, and I forgot already, Bonnie Cloak. Honestly, my brain doesn't go to the top floor today. So that is it for us this weekend for Brenda, Bonnie, and Jerry. Don't forget to pop onto the website at tracymoreau.net. Click on the little speech bubble on the lower right-hand corner of the homepage and send us your shipping information just to be on the safe side. We might have it, but just let us know.
Give me 1 second. Brenda Ellis is asking for a respin.
Oh, why?
Because she won last month.
Oh, okay. Very generous, Brenda. Thank you.
Yeah,
and I
she
knew
says,
somebody
please
else.
respin. I already won last month.
Oh, okay. Well, that was very generous of you. Somebody's going to be very happy.
Okay. Here we go. Where's Brenda? University and college grads get prepaid. Oh, whatever. Charlotte Downey.
Charlotte. Lovely. Excellent. So for those of you that have been waiting for, I know we went through a lot of bee kits this week.
Yeah.
Holy Moses. We have more bee kits. They will be, the website will be updated this weekend. And we have tons of the dragonflies in as well for next weekend's class. That's the rustic signboard and the dragonfly kit. The pattern will be up probably tomorrow afternoon. If I have anything to say about it, it will be. So pattern will be up tomorrow afternoon. You can join us right here every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We always paint something fun, and I think you'll enjoy this one. If you're a gardener, you're going to enjoy it. So join us next Saturday. We're going to be painting a dragonfly welcome sign. It's going to be a fun one.
Linda Safranco's helping you out here.
Is she?
Yeah, she's saying, let everybody know you have 2 printables up on the website.
Yes, we put new printables up on the website this week. I've been busy. I haven't been sitting on my laurels. I've been busy. So We get a lot accomplished. And so I want to say thank you every week for joining us here. We have a lot of fun getting these classes ready, and I hope you're enjoying the ones that we've gotten for you. So check out the website this week. We've got a whole bunch of stencils on sale. The Stencil Studio stencils are all, I'm not sure how much off. I think they're 45% off this week. So if you're looking for some fun little mini stencils, the Stencil Studio ones on the website are all on sale. We have 4 new additions to the stencil line. We've got a fabulous mixed media one, so go and check those out. We have a wood grain stencil. We have a really cool cube stencil and a fleur-de-lis background stencil as well. Got a bunch of stuff in this week, and just watch for the bee kits. We will have them back up, as well as the individual pieces. So if you don't want to buy the kit, you've already got the pattern, we will have the individual pieces up as well. Plus the dragonfly sign for next Saturday, and the teacup kits are in, as the little sill sitters are in, and we have some new patterns coming up for those. So I got to go take a break. Just a little breather, and then I'll start painting again. Okay, guys, I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Mwah, we love you. Please stay safe. And pet your dog. Ha! Gotcha.
Pet your dog. And your horses.
And your kitties.
Even though the horses are planning on taking over the world.
Are they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Are they really?
See ya.
See ya.
They are trying to take over the world. You know that.
Really?
Yeah, they're like dolphins.
Oh, okay. They're smart that way.
They're smart. Oh, I got to mute. Bye, guys.